Hello everyone, this is Mayan Roldan, your presenter for today's lesson. This is the continuation of the topic of Group 5, which is the types of curriculum design models. Like what have Group 5 mentioned, there are three major curriculum design. We have the subject-centered design, learner-centered design, and the problem-centered design, which I am going to discuss today. Okay, let us start. Problem-centered design. Focusing on social problems, needs, interests, and abilities of the learners. Why is it abilities of the learners? Because once you introduce the problem, you want your learners to develop a skill in order to resolve the problem. That's why it focuses on the abilities of the learners. This problem-centered design is also a learner-centered, in which, through the experience of problem-solving, students learn about a subject. Not only that, the students can also learn both thinking strategies and domain knowledge. Problem-centered design also teaches students how to look at a problem and formulate a solution. And it also helps students engage in authentic learning because they are exposed to real-life issues and skills which are transferable to the real world. This design is divided into two, the life situation design and the core problem design. Let us talk about life situation design. Life situation design. Contents are organized in ways that allow students to clearly view problem areas. It uses the past and present experiences of learners as means of analyzing basic areas of living. The connection of subject matter to real-life situation increases the relevance of the curriculum. In this design, we can implant to our learners the most important total experiences. The most valuable of our teaching is to integrate our academic lesson into their real-life situation, in which, through this academic learning, we can let our learners know how to deal with life in their social problems, needs, interests, and abilities. Based on Herbert Spencer's curriculum writing, his emphasis were activities that sustain life, enhance life, aid in rearing children, maintain the individual's social and political relations, and enhance leisure, task, and feelings. The connection of subject matter to real situations increases the relevance of the curriculum. Another example of problem-centered design is core problem design. It centers on general education and the problems are based on common human activities. The central focus of the core design includes common needs, problems, and concerns of the learners. So the problem that we will present here to our learners are based on common human activities or our daily activities. Popularized by Fonse and Bossing in 1959, they presented ways on how to proceed following a core design curriculum as follows. First, make group consensus on important problems, or in other words, a group consensus is made to identify the important problems and interests of the class. Second step, develop criteria for selection of important problems. State and define the problem, meaning from general you make it specific. Fourth, decide on areas of study, including class grouping. And then list the needed information for resources. Six, obtain and organize information. Analyze and interpret the information. Since this is a problem design, make sure that the lesson you will introduce is correct. You must have a clear understanding to the problem you are presenting. As much as possible, Research on the problem so that when they provide solutions, you know how to filter which solutions are applicable and which solutions are not. State the tentative conclusions, and then present a report to the class individually or by group. Then, evaluate the conclusions. And lastly, explore other avenues for further problem solving. Okay, again, those are the 11 steps to proceed using core design. If you are going to use this design, you must be wise enough as a teacher to filter those solutions they are suggesting, and you must have a mastery of the problem. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. At this time, my group mates, Mrs. Geraldine D. Ilaw and Mrs. Cheryl D. Madeja, will discuss the next topic, the approaches to curriculum design models.
Good morning, everyone. I am Geraldine De La Cruz Ilaw, and I am tasked to report one of the common approaches to curriculum design models. Child or learner-centered approach. This approach to curriculum design is based on the underlying philosophy that the child is the center of the educational process. Curriculum is constructed based on the needs, interests, purposes, and abilities of the learners. Curriculum is also built upon the learner's knowledge, skills, learning, and potentials. This means that the learners are at the center stage of the educative process. They are the most important factor in the learning environment. The children take command of their own learning. Teachers are there to provide support and facilitate the child's learning, but children determine the direction of their own learning, following their natural curiosities, interests, and passions. So, whatever has to be learned must be learned by doing. From its design, how should a child-centered curriculum be approached? Let us consider these principles. First, acknowledge and respect the fundamental rights of the child. This means that we should consider the child's needs, their learning capabilities, and their interests. We are not going to expect much from the child that they know everything. We should also consider the readiness of the child. Second, make all activities revolve around the overall development of the learner. This means that we teach lessons according to the interest and abilities of the child, and we are going to give them activities suited to them. Third, consider the uniqueness of every learner in a multicultural classroom, or we call it the diversity of learners. Learners are taught to process and understand ideas and information in different ways based on their cultural upbringings, meaning teachers may need to adapt lesson plans for multicultural classrooms. In our increasingly diverse and multicultural society, it's more important than ever for teachers to incorporate culturally responsive instruction in the classroom, whether teaching elementary school, middle school, or high school students. And the increase of diversity doesn't only relate to race and ethnicity. It can include students of different religion, economic status, sexual orientation, gender identity, and language background. Let's have an example of child-centered approach. School X is anchored on the theory of multiple intelligences in all its curricular and co-curricular activities. Every classroom provides activity centers where children can learn on their own with the different learning resource materials. Learners can just choose which learning center to engage in with different resources. This arrangement allows for the capacity of every learner to be honed. It also allows learning how to learn. Hence will develop independence. The teacher acts as guide for every learner. The learner sets the goal that can be done within the frame of time. That's the end of my report. Once again, I am Geraldine De La Cruz Ilaw, saying thank you and God bless. The next reporter is Ma'am Cheryl D. Madeja, and she will be reporting about problem-centered approach and subject-centered approach.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Teacher Cheryl Madeja, and I'm going to continue the report of Teacher G. The second approach to curriculum design model is subject-centered approach. This is anchored in a curriculum design which prescribes separate distinct subjects for every educational level: basic education, higher education, or vocational technical education. In a subject-centered approach, each content area contains its own set skills and concepts for mastering that content. For example, in science, students learn about the scientific method and science-related vocabulary. This knowledge is then used when students conduct experiments and investigations. Subject-centered approach considers the following principles. First, the primary focus is the subject matter. In this principle, teachers' mastery of the subject matter influences the learner's understanding of the subject they learn. Mastery of the teacher helps them to impart knowledge effectively and confidently. Next, the emphasis is on bits and pieces of information which may be detached from life. Third, the subject matter serves as a means of identifying problems of living. Fourth, learning means accumulation of content or knowledge. In this principle, the goal of education is seen not so much as the accumulation of knowledge, but as the honing of cognitive skills such as thinking. And the last principle is, teacher's role is to dispense the content. Traditionally, teaching was a combination of information dispensing, the day-to-day job for a teacher rather than broadcasting content. I have here an example of subject-centered approach. School Y aims to produce the best graduates in the school district. Every learner must excel in all academic subjects to be on top of every academic competition. The higher the level of cognitive intelligence, the better the learner. Hence, the focus of learning is mastery of the subject matter in terms of content. Every student is expected to be always on top in terms of mastery of discipline. Memorization and drill are important learning skills. The school gives emphasis to intellectual development and sets aside emotional, psychomotor, and even value development. Success means mastery of the content. Next approach to curriculum design models is problem-centered approach. This approach is based on a design which assumes that in the process of living, children experience problems. Thus, problem-solving enables the learners to become increasingly able to achieve complete or total development as individuals. Problem-centered approach also provides a vehicle to achieve the goals and objectives identified in the curriculum. Evidence from research and international studies suggests that our students are proficient in procedures but do not have the conceptual understanding to solve problems. However, this approach is characterized by the following views and beliefs. First, the learners are capable of directing and guiding themselves in resolving problems, thus developing every learner to be independent, which means problem-solving enables the learners to become increasingly able to achieve complete or total development as individuals. Second, the learners are prepared to assume their civic responsibilities through direct participation in different activities. In these beliefs, the learner should be actively participate in the public life of a community in an informed, committed, and constructive manner with a focus on the common good. And the third one is the curriculum leads the learners in the recognition of concerns and problems in seeking solutions. Learners are problem solvers themselves. In the real world, students encounter problems that are complex, not well defined, and lack a clear solution and approach. They need to be able to identify and apply different strategies to solve problems. However, problem-solving skills do not necessarily develop naturally. They need to be explicitly taught in a way that can be transferred across multiple settings and contexts. An example of the problem-centered approach is Schools A believes that a learner should be trained to solve real-life problems that come about because of the needs, interests, and abilities of the learners. Problems persistent in life and society that affect daily living are also considered. Most of the school activities revolve around finding solutions to problems like poverty, drug problems, climate change, natural calamities, and many more. Since the school is using a problem-based design, the same approach is used. Case study and practical work are the teaching strategies that are utilized. Problem-centered approach has become popular in many schools. That's all for today, and thank you for listening. Have a blessed day and God bless us all. Thank you.